Really just so proud of this group of young men. Not too many teams get the opportunity to start the season out as the number one ranked team in the country, and then put yourself in a position where you're one game away from Omaha to advance. And I'm just so proud of this team, because I think they handled the expectations prior to the season and throughout the season as good as any club can. In this ball game, certainly our offensive output was outstanding. Much was made of our offensive ball club before the season started. And, there was some games that it didn't go so well, and it wasn't easy, and we won a lot of close ball games. But, certainly the last 2 weeks, this offensive team showed what it's capable of doing. And then, I had complete confidence in Josh Spores going out there today. That guy's got really electric stuff. And he was, after he settled down after the first inning, he was absolutely in control of the game for 7 innings. And, I think there's a, something about him that, here he's our number 2 starter all year long. And, going into the final ACC weekend against Wake Forest, we changed things up a little bit, put Artie Lewicki in there. Josh hadn't started in 3 weeks, hadn't really pitched much at all in 3 weeks. And, when his team needed him the most, he stepped up and was absolutely dominating for 7 innings. And I'm just so proud of this team. I think this is a team that's built to win in Omaha. I think they'll understand what it takes to be successful there. They'll be very, very focused. They'll enjoy this victory tonight, certainly, and then tomorrow we'll turn our attention to our next opponent. But, I think in all phases of the game, this team's pretty special. And I'm excited to see them go out to Omaha and compete for a national championship. Yeah, I wasn't surprised. He's a veteran guy. He's pitched really great for them out of their bullpen. You look at his statistics; they're very impressive. Maybe their coach wanted to get off to a good start and use one of their main guys. I don't know, but certainly our guys were ready to go right out of the gate.
Brian, this is the 3rd time you've won one of these. Mm-hmm. This didn't have kind of the last-minute drama that 2011 did, but how does this feel any different than 2009, 2011?
Well, I tell you, it feels better without the drama. I can tell you, 2011 was absolutely gut-wrenching on how we won that one, but they're all special, Jeff, because every team's different. Every team's journey to get to this point is different. Every team, deals with different things throughout the season. This is a collection of, young men that you have some freshmen that are stepping in for you, like Danny Pinheiro and other guys that are talented. And then you got a group of veteran players that, have had huge expectations on them since they walked on these grounds. And I'm just I'm so proud because they handled it absolutely the right way. You're always concerned about, as a coach, when you have talent like we have, and how they're going to handle their junior year with the draft and things like that. And these guys handled it great. They their approach, their work ethic all year long was commensurate with the success that they've had. And the 3-2 walk-off wins to go to Omaha are exciting, but I'll take these. The 3-2 ones add to this gray hair I have, and this one was, a little bit more comfortable.
Brian, this year you've had, Josh Spores has been out there. There's been really good Josh Spores, and there's been wild Josh Spores and things like that. You talked about how well he pitched last week, inter squads and stuff like that. that first inning, when he's a little erratic, the 2 walks, how big do you think that double play was to calm his nerves and make him relax?
That double play was huge. I think it had so much to do with his confidence, that he could attack them. I'll say this about Josh Spores, okay? He certainly has his wild streaks at times, but he always keeps the game in check. All those games he started for us this year, we had chances to win all those games. And, I knew that if he went out and threw like he did throughout the season, that we would be in fantastic shape. Let me tell you something. This guy is a legitimate prospect next year. You look at his fastball that he throws from, 92 to 96, 97. This guy's throwing an 86 to 89 mile-an-hour slider. The stuff is really outstanding. So, he's a big, strong kid, and but I know that's a long answer to the double play, but, maybe that shows how excited I am about him and moving forward. And but certainly it was a huge part of the game, I thought.
And you are going to need Nick Howard in Omaha.
Yeah, we will need Nick Howard in Omaha. I can assure you that.
Coach, Saturday felt maybe like Groundhog Day at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Contrast those, particularly the middle to late innings, versus what was happening at the end of yesterday's game and then today.
Well, the Saturday's game 1, as I talked about on Sunday, when I reflect back and looked at the film and everything, we got a lot of hits, and we got to be thankful that we got a lot of hits and walks and had runners on. That's a sign of a good offensive club. A sign of a great club is punching them in. And, I go back and watch it, and there was multiple balls with runners in scoring position that we hit hard. They just made the plays or it was right at somebody. So I knew that if we didn't change our offensive approach, that the results were good. I talked about how well I slept on Saturday night going into Sunday, and it's because I knew that if we had that same approach that we had, that the results would be really good. And we flipped the switch in about the middle of the game in game 2, where we were still getting hits, but now, the balls were starting to fall. And, getting to Omaha, winning a super regional, you watch all the games, it is so hard to do. It really is. And I think people a lot of times, because you have talent, they take it for granted. It is, not only do you have to be good, you have to have some good fortune too. And maybe the back half of 2 and today was, our good fortune and allows us to be in this position. But those things happen because you're aggressive and you don't change your approach.
Brian, Maryland takes the first game. They lose yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
How tough was it? Because you've been here before.
Right.
You fall behind 3-0.
Yeah.
That first inning, getting that lead had to really put, really kill some of their momentum.
I've been in that position. We have in our program, and you win that game 1, you lose that game 2, and it seems like the tide turns a little bit. And I don't know what's happened in the other games that went on today and tonight across the country, but they did. It's just the momentum swings. And, certainly when Spores got that double play and then we got those 3 runs in the first inning, and then tacked on 3 more in the third, I'm sure in the other dugout you're in a tough position. So just it worked out. That's why it's a 3-game series. And if my memory is correct, I think we've only lost one of those 3-game series this whole year. So,
Brian, Coach Sheff called you guys a college baseball monster.
Who did? John Sheff? Yeah. Okay.
How good is this team, and how good is it compared to the teams you have had?
Well, I appreciate John saying that. This is as good as the 2011 team, Jerry, and there's areas that I think this team is better than the 2011 team. The athleticism and depth of our lineup is really special. You know, you think about this weekend, we started 3 sophomores in our rotation. You got a guy that's a first-round pick for you at the end of the game. You know, I think the depth of that pitching staff, and you didn't even see all of them this weekend. You know, there's guys sitting down in that bullpen, guys like Connor Jones that throw the ball 91 to 94 miles an hour, and he didn't get in a game. So I think the quality of the depth of our pitching is the best that it's been. And again, that lineup throughout 1 through 9 is pretty special. So I think it could be the best, Jerry, but you know, we'll make that final decision in about 2 weeks.
Brian, a few of us were talking last night about the fact that from the outside looking in, it looks like you have a lot of really nice guys on this team, and maybe heading into a big game 3 like this, you might need a guy to light a fire, somebody to kick him in the butt a little bit from on the roster. Do you have that guy? Who is it? Did he say anything last night or today? And will you need a guy like that in Omaha?
There was nothing said by anybody as extra motivation for the team or anything. I do feel like we have a lot of nice young men. Thank you for saying that. I want them to be nice, right? There's a lot of young people out there that idolize them, and it's important for them to be great representatives of our program and our university. So I think being nice young men is a good thing. But I can tell you this, you know, when they get between those white lines, they are absolutely fierce competitors, and I think you can be that way. So, you know, I can't tell you that there is one player that would ignite them. You know, I just think that, you know, the total group of them, their entire approach is fierce, and it's aggressive, and we'll come at you, you know, both on the mound and at the plate. So, sorry, I wish I could tell you somebody. Maybe it might be me. I don't know.
Right. Thanks, Doug. You talked about dealing with the draft this week and everything like that. There was one player, one junior who didn't get drafted, and that was Kenny Towns. But he comes out and has these last 2 games. And, I mean, I think he set a Virginia postseason record today with RBIs with 4. Wow. I mean, what say about him as a guy that doesn't get forgotten amongst those other guys, but someone that's also a big contributor to you in a clutch time?
You know, I'd say if, you know, that guy that motivates you, that guy that's a grinder on this team, there's a lot of them, but I'd point to Kenny Towns. I can't speak to why Kenny Towns got drafted or he didn't. I know that he wants to be back here for his 4th year and finish his education and play another year of Virginia baseball. But, you know, Kenny Towns has been clutch. I remember back to the back part of his freshman year when we plugged him in there and DH'd a little bit. He got a lot of big clutch hits. You know, and I know he has a lot of pride. I think he's one of the real leaders of our team because he comes out there every day and he's ready to play. So he is the one guy in that junior class that has been to Omaha. He was in the home run hitting contest last year, if you recall. Oh, yeah, Fisher had too, right, the year before. There we go. So, you know, it was huge. I mean, Kenny set the tone. You know, I go back to game 1, and Kenny had a lot of opportunities. I don't remember the number, but he might have left on base 6 or 7 runners. But, you know, one of them was that first inning where he smokes the ball to right center field and White makes a great play, and, you know, you all know what happens there. So he's been one of our more productive, consistent hitters down the stretch, and it doesn't surprise me.